Well, hello. Yes, they got me so suddenly. I'm wondering, because it's always new here, how I can answer or see you speak, I guess, over here in chat. Let's see what I can do. Because I want to chat with you too. At least I think I do. Is there a way to do that on this new stuff? Okay. No, learn more. Well, what am I learning? I'm learning that this may be an interesting live stream since I can't do anything yet. Yes, okay. I want something. Well, I was able to do that. Can I do anything else? I can start questions and answers? Okay, that's what it's for. Okay, for the most part. And I'm going to jump some stuff. I'm going to do stuff. Let me see. I wanted to tell you about something I manifested. I got to manifest something too. And I'm doing this because I've been getting very dry skin here. Um, I share such beautiful things with you, and I need to get that not to be happening. But anyways, that's a new one on me since I lost all this weight. So we're going to talk about manifesting and my coaching and my teaching. It's all kind of in the same family. And my psychic medium mixed with the Neville Goddard work. I am a, what do we call ourselves? Nevilleized. And of course, I do have, there are some things with Neville Goddard. For those who don't know who that is, I'll give you a couple things about him just to get you over to my new place on Skool, Skool. How fun is that? Yes, I'm very relaxed at this moment, trying to be. And I had some interesting manifestations. Can I speak English today? Manifestations, especially lately. Yes, there are things in my life. I've always decided to stay real. A lot of you know me from Facebook, and that I do post things going on with me, very real, sometimes hard things. And you'll say, if you're so whatever, and mostly I get pretty good comments. I get the usual, but I've had some, my manifesting of financials, I do manifest financially, just not as well as my want is. Everything we manifest, this is Neville Goddard, we do create it. And the other thing that I agree with Neville Goddard, and so do millions of people, and that is part of the deal, is that that God is inside of us. Reverend Ike, he was fun. I like to listen to his videos too. Both Neville Goddard and Reverend Ike are passed on now. But boy, and I think they knew each other. I think that's Reverend Ike actually met Neville and may have even been a friend in his time. And what happened was he was a preacher for sure, Reverend Ike. I mean, I'm a little off tangent here, but I do love him. You know, I'll probably have some stuff of his on the new channel too. The new channel, I want to put it into the chat room. So let's see. Let's see if I can. I think I can. So let me do a couple things here. So I'm going to go to a place called Skool. That's where I can get an invite for you. I do want to invite you. It's only $5. And that is for month to month. Right now, it will go up greatly, but you get a lot of stuff just as a member. $50 for the year. So I'm all for you doing the year because the year is very nice. So, and it's also you're saving $10 from paying month to month on the $5. Again, that's a temporary price, probably for until the end of the month. And I would like you to join. Let's go back where I was. I have to find you. There we go. And I have so many windows up. Okay. Now that's the first one. Let's make sure you got it. I think you may have. It's really not a question and answer, but that's what they said I started. Can I just print stuff? Yeah, I think I can. So let's try that again. There we go. Because it is not. And welcome to it. Now, I would love for you all to join, and I'm going to show you how right now, because you can do it now, and I'll put it throughout the video. I don't know how long I'll go on, God forbid that I can go on for years. But I'm going to try to stick to the points I'm trying to make. I don't know what that one's about. Let me get rid of that and make sure we're still on. Are we still on? We're still on. See my skinny self. I have, so that's one of my many, let's call that one of my many things that I've done. Save page. Well, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to copy this link. Okay, let's see how that works. I think I hear a roommate coming in this early in the morning, so yeah, there we go. Okay, there's my chat, and there's my paste. And so you now have your first chance to go in. There was a way one time when I did this to invite people. I kind of like that too. Sharing is good. I can share while I'm on that. So let's see. Let's see what happens if I go to X and share there. I don't even might sign in. Yeah, that's probably good. Yeah, if I can do that easily here. Well, let's see my username. Let's see what happens. I don't know if it's working well. This stuff I should probably figure out how to work out before I get here, but I just never know. I never know I to get there. I may have to do that another. Okay, I'll come back here. Where else can I share that's open now that you all can see? But you can share on Facebook usually, meaning, yeah, I can tell you come here, but it doesn't say you can do that anymore, at least not where I can see it. So if you know somebody you might be interested, come share away. What's this? Engage your audience. I'd have to find one first. Where are we? Learn more. Welcome to chat. Start a poll. Okay. Let's close that out. As Angela learns how to do stuff that she should have been able to do. You see, they change it all the time, and I never know what's going to happen with it because I don't do it often enough. I will do it more now because I'd like you guys to see me if you want to. If I can get some people interested, it would be nice. Very nice. Can I? Can I? Uh-huh. Live streaming, nice. Okay, not now then, I guess. And let me see. It says share. That's what I'm saying. Can I invite? But that's a share and not an invite per se. Because see, now if I share to here to Facebook, which I'm on, shouldn't people see it? Shouldn't they be seeing it now? Not logged in. I do have 2 Facebooks, but let's see if I do. Try the other one. The other one going over there, I believe I'm live on a different one, the one that I have more people on. Well, this is what it is too. There we go. Doesn't matter. I'm just sharing it. No, that's all. Sharing. See who's around. There you go. Somebody wants me to confirm something, and we'll let you know soon. I'm still back here, or am I? Did you lose me? No, I'm still here. If you come on, be sure to say hi, so I know you're there. And let me see, they're telling me to edit. I wonder if in edit I can do something. I don't want to edit now, but I wonder if you have an invite. No, yeah, I know it's not made for kids, but it's not necessarily against kids. I don't think I'm gonna say anything bad. My language can be a little, something, but I'm in New York, come on. Been here for years. You know it happens. Who's here? Who's not here? Send feedback. I guess sometimes you have to kind of, what do they say? Advertise. Yeah, that might be the word. And that's what I'm basically trying to do right now. But just let me tell you what happened, and then you guys can decide from there. Maybe you'll see this at another time, and maybe you won't. Who's here? Nobody. Oh, I wonder if I can hit here. I'm still trying to find a way to invite people. See, that's what I want to do. I loved doing that. It's good. timestamps. No, no, no. Doesn't work that way. To guard your stuff. Yeah, I'm guarding, I guess. Contact, streaming moderate. What's moderate compared to what? I don't know. Invite a guest. Ooh, you can invite a guest. That's what I'm thinking. You schedule that. Okay. Can I invite people to join me now? Tap create live. Yes. Next, copy link, send invite to co-streamer. That means you're streaming with me. Join a stream as a guest. Frequently asked questions. Yes. Contact us. Anybody else? Help me. Anybody? Can you get here and let me know what's going on? Well, let me see what's happening here. Maybe this would be interesting. Let's see myself. No. See all profiles. So let's see what I can do here. Okay. Yeah, it's a different play. It's the one I'm on. Let's see, I guess it may not let me go on right now because I'm on this one. Yeah, I'm trying to do many things at one time, apparently. Members, okay. Well, join me if you can. What I'm going to do is, since I've had that up there already, I'll go back here. I'll do this, a few small things that I was planning on doing anyways. So first thing I was planning on doing, I could clean up the room and make it, I just haven't yet. You guys see me? Yes. Okay. I always get itchy sometimes. I guess that's my nervous habit when I'm online. Trying to keep from doing that at times. How do I get participants now? There we go. See, now I have none. I just wanted to see what it said. Live chat. Okay, that's what I wanted. Live chat. All messages are available. That might have been a problem, but I don't see anybody here anyway. Okay. Yes, 100%. That's me. Come on over, people. Come on over. Come check me out. Yeah. Okay. And, all is good. I wonder if they have a teleprompter type thing. That would be really cool, right? Be nice. Okay. I'm not moving that far and I'm just right here, so it's okay. I can print it too, but in 1905, I believe, and Christian upbringing. I was raised Catholic for a sense of humor from my mom, so and I'm an only child, so 8. Well, actually a little longer than that. He came back. He was with us for the first 8 years of his life. I had a brother, because I don't remember any of this. This was something my mother told me about. And I beat him. That's what big sisters do. I guess I loved him. I kissed his whole face too, because I thought that was fun, because he hated it. And his real dad, my uncle, would be one of my first semi-manifestation. I wasn't trying to get rid of him, by the way. Took him back because his uncle Curly, his father, he had his 6th wife, maybe his 8th wife. I lost track somewhere along the time. I was still a kid. What was I, 10 years old, 9 years old, and decided she wanted his sonship, and they basically kidnapped him. And so he went, but in those days you didn't have Amber Alerts, nor can a father, I guess, because we didn't have legal adoption. My mother had guardianship. And I don't even know if that's true to this day. If you have guardianship, or you probably have to have adoption to keep a child. So because even though he'd been with us, he was raised at that time as our child, or as my parents' child, and my brother, and he was using our last name, my dad's, who blood related was not blood related to him at all. And of course, my mother was his aunt, as she's Curly's sister. And so Curly took him. Well, his wife, really. Curly wasn't around much with his wives, as you could tell, because he was on his 6th or 8th wife. I lost track. And I believe he was the reincarnation of King Henry VIII, as my mother was Anne Boleyn, or her mother, because my mother and Uncle Curly used to argue about how Henry VIII was fine, according to Curly, of course. And my mother was saying, no, he tortured that poor little Anne Boleyn. So I don't know if she was actually her or the mother of her. Also a Catholic, by the way. And so he could have had 6 wives, just like King Henry VIII. He beheaded all of them, but of course, in this lifetime as Uncle Curly, that was figuratively, as far as I know. I think he just divorced them all, or left, or well, he cheated all the time. That's normal for him. So we all have regular lives, I guess, if you want to call that regular, or our crazy lives. And so there was that. And Vince was away. Because I have to say, it might be the first thing I it was a very slow manifestation, though, because after I found out he was gone and he wasn't coming back home with us, I, of course, was very upset. And probably affected me the rest of my life, because I do have, I guess, somewhat, I'm working on them all the time, trust issues, that people are going to stay, or nobody's going to take them away in certain ways. I mean, I understand logically as an adult certain things, but being at the time about 10 years old, I think I always was concerned that somebody can come and just take you. I did have a fear of kidnapping for a long time. Even though it was family kidnapping, and he was supposed to visit Uncle Curly for the summer, it's just he didn't come back home, because we always picked him up when school was started. So that happened. And I started praying, Christian, Catholic. My mother became a Congregationalist when I was about 8 years old. So I mostly went to church with her. So I would say we became Christian, even though Catholic is Christian, but we got out of the Roman Catholic Church, because my mother said she got tired of being on her knees. But technically speaking, they just wouldn't let her sing in the choir. And she was a really great singer, definitely. And but for some reason, I guess they had a favorite or something, or she was the favorite and then wasn't anymore. And so they, I guess, to give other people a chance or whatever, she went to the Congregationalist church, because they, of course, needed somebody in the choir, and they loved her voice. And not that you shouldn't, because she was very excellent. And she became the soloist at the Congregationalist church. So she was quite happy, or happier, I guess. And so she became Congregationalist, and being her child, I was with her. That was when I was 8. I guess Vince must have went with us for a while, because he was still with us at least another year. But I don't remember him being at the Congregationalist church with us. If he was, it's just left my memory. Don't know where that went. And so when I found out, as school was about to start, and we saw Vince for, I guess, the last time for a while, because Curly started hiding him from us, but that's, again, my mother always found them. It's not that difficult. And he wanted to be with us, because they had to pull him and me apart. We were holding on to each other at the house, Curly's house. Curly had to be there. And we were holding each other and saying, nope, he's coming home, because he didn't want to stay there anymore. He always went for the summer. We never knew why, but now we do. And he wanted to come home with us, because that was his home. So as we hugged each other and said, no, we're not partying, and I figured I was strong enough to hold on tight enough, and I told him to hold on really tight, and they wouldn't separate us. But I guess the 3 adults were able to do that. Yeah. And then I know somebody put me in the car, probably Curly. My mother wasn't terribly violent or anything, so I would say that if he was not necessarily with me, but with Vince when we're not there, and maybe she was too, the stepmother, and they may have physically beat him after this. I don't know, They didn't let my mother see that, but I do know they physically pulled us apart. That was pretty much it. I don't remember being technically physically hurt from it. We were little, I mean, we weren't gigantic kids or anything. And somebody got me in the car because I didn't want to, my mom's car. I mean, and then she may have yelled at me and told me to stay where I was. Um, and in the meantime, trying to tell me that there's nothing I can do, no matter how hard I hold on, obviously. And so I started praying all the time that he would come home, that my little brother or my Vince would come home, and he and I would sneak phone calls to each other. Not that I was allowed to call, but they changed their phone number a lot, and my mother would find it, or we'd go out and find their house where they're living. It was always in Arizona, where I'm from, and we'd say, don't keep them from us, in that sense, that we can at least visit where they live. I don't think they let them come over to the house, but anyway, whatever they did to him, which was definitely abusive. In many, many ways. They told him lies about us, that we didn't want him anymore, which was far from the truth, and very far from the truth. And that we gave him to them. And so that started turning his little 8-year-old mind at the time, 8 to 9. And so by the time he was 14, or well, yeah, probably earlier, but anyways, by the time we heard a lot of stuff, he was getting in a lot of trouble, beating up people like his father, because he was beat. So he was the scapegoat for these children, and that belonged to his stepmother. She probably beat him too, because he was, again, the outsider. He didn't belong to her, but she wanted him because she wanted to steal him. But then she used him to, as far as he kind of remembers or has said, that I know he was forced to like clean all the time. They lived in a very impoverished area of Phoenix too. It was usually pretty bad. But I guess when he got tired of it, he would act out, and he got in trouble dropped out of school or didn't go, and sometimes he did. And I believe he did get in trouble like juvie a couple times. Whatever happened when he was about, my prayers were still going on too. When he was about 15, and I was 17 now, so I was about to graduate high school, and I was probably a little less fervent than I was when I was really young. I think I probably started at about 13 or 14, a little less prayer, but I still wouldn't have been sad if he came back. He was still, I was very lonely for the most part. I had friends and everything, but a lonely only child, I used to call myself. Now, I did have some friends that lived with us off and on. My mother was definitely the, collected people. So I've had a couple friends from high school who lived with us for a while, and I had my sisters, again, my soul sisters, that stayed with us. And my mother did, yeah, after Vince was gone, definitely. She took in foster children who were foster girls, because I think that's all they allowed, because I was being a little girl, and I was probably 10 when they started bringing the girls in. I think Vince was already gone. That's, maybe she was trying to, well, she liked to help people. So we had various foster sisters for me up until I was about 13 or 14. But they were always, probably more when I was 10, 11, 12. They were always teenagers, because it came from the Arizona Girls School. In fact, I wish I could find some of them now. They would obviously be a little bit older than me, and I've looked up some of the names I kind of remember. I remember first names, and that's another thing. I'd love to find them. I do know where Vince is, my little brother. So what happened when he was 15, I guess he got caught. He stabbed a suitcase to death, not a person, just a suitcase. And I guess it scared his stepmother enough that we got a phone call from Curly about taking him back. And my mom immediately, because she always felt an obligation, she thought of him as her son. She said, of course. Now, at that point, I was actually a little nervous, knowing that he was violent. So I said, I don't know what he's going to do in this house. That was like, at that point, I'd had foster sisters and my friends staying with me. In fact, I think I still had a friend that was living with us. And so we were going to have to make room for him. And that was okay, because my friend is my friend. And, I believe yeah, she was still there. And then he came back, and so it would be, my mother would have the three teenagers there. Um, and we didn't know how he was. So he did come back, and he ended up staying with my mother until he was in his 30s, between jail cells and other issues. He was trouble. Well, drug addiction and stuff like that, and understandably maybe, but you know couldn't cure him. Maybe tried a few times. Jail got him off drugs because he got arrested for drugs mostly, and I don't want to talk too much badly about him, and I'm because it's sad. It's just sad, actually. It's more sad than anything. And so he's at this point incarcerated, yes. Uh, and he had been a couple times. This is, he's now like 50s. I turned 60. He might be real close to 60. He might be 58 or 59. But anyways, he's in jail, and that's a story in itself for another time. Actually, Neville Goddard has a thing about it. Somebody who was in jail, and he was in the army. Both my parents were military, by the way. I have to laugh about that. But this is not really supposed to be about that. But that's what I want to say. So I prayed and prayed, and he did come back. It's before I knew the Neville Goddard work. So let me get to that, because it kind of based off that. So let's go religion. What I learned from Neville Goddard as time went on and things happened throughout my life with my religious choices, etc. I always, even as a little child at that time, I asked a lot of questions because I had these strange gifts, and sometimes it scared me and scared my mother and think I'm worshiping the devil because I can sometimes see people's auras. I can, but at that time I was doing that without knowing that I was doing that. And I'll share, I have some sharing of that story in other places. I will share it again. And when Neville Goddard came into my life late, but I was always curious also about things like magic, but not so much hocus pocus magic. Those were cool. I thought they were cool, but not the David Blaine and David Copperfield and all those people. I liked that book too. Aside from the magician and magicians, which I liked, I was very interested. I said witchcraft, and that's when I almost caused my mother to crash the car. I think I was 8 or 9 when I said I'd like to study witchcraft when I grow up, and because we watched stuff like Bewitched, so I looked at witchcraft as like being able to wiggle your nose and clean up the whole house. That would have been nice, wouldn't it? Or my room, at least. Need to do that now. That was the kind of shows I grew up on. So the suspense of magical belief, I believed that witches like Samantha and Tabitha had the gift. And I thought maybe I had some gifts, and I know I had gifts, but I thought they were in the lines of witchcraft because that was kind of the explanation I knew about it. I know that in church we learned that, God was a spirit. I learned that. And when I was 9 or 10, I saw a lot of stuff happen right around that age. But I think that's common of gifted people. I'll talk more about that at another time too. I saw an angel floating down the aisle in our church, Congregationalist church, when I was about 9, give or take. I think it was summer actually. So I know Vince was not there because it was a rehearsal. My mother was singing solo, as she did. And it was the organist, myself, and I know it wasn't Sunday. It wasn't Sunday service. It was like a Wednesday or whatever. It was just time for maybe before choir practice, because I believe choir practiced on Wednesday night. But my mom was there early, and it was just the 3 of us there early. And because, my mother, they all knew her very well, so I guess, and the organist she was playing for her, so she obviously had keys. Unlike the Catholic Church, the Congregational Church doesn't leave the doors open when they're not there. Considering where we were in Phoenix, that was a good idea anyways. So we were in the church, my mother rehearsing, because I usually went where she went, because I wanted to. And I liked church. And it was just a rehearsal anyway, so it was just my mom singing and stuff. So we were there, and I think I was praying. And I was sitting there with my mom, and thinking that, I think asking if God was really there, that was kind of my my questioning phase, because again, sometimes I prayed for things like Vince coming home and he wasn't. He just got taken away. I was expecting that to happen or wanting it to happen. And I remember even asking, in the silence of my mind, I was asking for a little brother or a little sister, even like my mom to get pregnant. The best I knew how to ask to send one. I didn't know much about my parents' marriage at that point, other than they did argue a lot and sometimes slept in separate rooms. But that didn't, obviously I didn't know the details of how little brothers and sisters were made. That still was, I'm not even sure I understood fully that Vince was not my mother's child, but at that point, they kind of told me, but I don't know how much, I just don't know how much I understood about that at that moment, or at that time. But I was kind of going, God, if you're really there, then why am these things not happening? Why didn't I get that particular toy at Christmas? This the usual stuff that a kid would ask. I remember asking for signs. So I knew about signs, and I think probably out of Bible stories from Sunday school or something. And I kept saying, if you're really there, I remember saying, if you're really there, move the curtains, like in my room when there's no breeze and no air conditioning on. And then they would move. Scared me. Then I'm going, okay, that's enough. I had strange experiences, many of them, like I said, not sharing them all now, but yeah, 'cause there's plenty to share on that. And they did have to do with me talking to the God inside of me, I will suppose now, because that kind of made sense to me later when I got into Neville again as an adult. But the interest in magic, witchcraft. When my mother slammed the car brakes on when I told her I wanted to study witchcraft, she said never. And I did tell her, I did know the difference. I said, I mean white witchcraft, where you help people. And so it's always kind of based on good things. Like I said, like Samantha Stevens and from Bewitched. I want to help people. I want to, I want to like move my my transistor radio over here if it's far across the room and I don't feel like getting up to go get it. Those kind of funny things. Because I thought that would be fun too. Or again, I did always like helping people. I had, my aunt, not the one who kidnapped my brother, my aunt who I had lived nearby, and she was really, really poor sometimes. And I thought they lived in this terrible place where like my cousins couldn't have like even the things I had, because I do know I had some privilege. We weren't rich, but we were, upper middle class. So I had some good things. And my aunt had gotten divorced and she had 4 kids, and my cousins sometimes had really bad things. Like they had, the house, I didn't like to go there. They had like, bugs and stuff. I'm dealing with that now, but that's a whole other problem in New York. And I was like wishing I could buy them a new house, or manifest that. I didn't call it manifesting, but if I had magic, I could do it. And I did stuff like that. So I was doing visualization pretty early on. I was just doing it with the thought that I'm asking God to let me do that for them, that I was asking God to let them do that for me, or give me the gift to do that. And yeah, so that was like part of how that started to question things. And of course, though my mother forbade me from studying witchcraft, if I found books on it, of course I read them. I was well read at a very young age. I was reading like pretty much at a 3rd grade level by 5 years old. So you couldn't really, maybe higher, you couldn't stop me if I found a book, if I saw one and I could get it without having to buy it, or I would get it. If I saw something at the library, I mean, they put me in the, they send you to the section that you're looking for. But I remember trying to even read some pretty heavy books at a young age. And I did, but some that I couldn't quite understand. Somebody gave me Dante's Inferno. Yeah, that was, and I was 12 by then, but I didn't get it at the time. Not that I get it now, but it wasn't my best read. But I had a friend in school at that time who likes a lot of, let's say, esoteric or strange things. But she read like she had Star Trek stuff. I think there was books then. I know we watched the show. I watched the show with my dad, and which led me to Shakespeare. But that's a whole other thing. But I would read things, and I I did understand interesting things once I had the right book about it. Early, I remember reading stuff. Then I started getting books at that time, even about reincarnation and about metaphysics that maybe were called psychic gifts. So I started learning those things as people do. And I don't know if my mother approved all the time, but she didn't have a problem with me learning things that were considered, like an education. If I would read that there was people who, that in even the Bible days, I mean, we certainly talk about the interpreting of the dreams, all the Bible stories. My mother loved to talk about that. She would always use it in the, towards the church about how God gave them the gift, the prophets. She was cool about me reading about that. So that kind of led me to other things and friends who knew those things. Because again, I was in Arizona. That's where there was a very big ARE there, the Association of Research and Enlightenment. And I had, friends that their parents may have went there or had a couple books on that and stuff like that. I do remember when we were on vacation one year, my mother had a friend who she found out was a practicing Wiccan. So I did meet a witch, and we had a talk about that. My mother, I guess, let her do that because she liked her friend, but she didn't know her friend was a Wiccan until we got there. It was in Texas because we were on a trip cross country. And I remember she had a lot of cats, cat lady, and a blonde lady or gray, I don't know, but she had a bunch of books about witchcraft. And I got to read them because my mother would never embarrass herself in front of other people, so she didn't make a scene or anything. But and I had asked her, could I look at those books when we were in this lady's house? And at some point I did. But when I was sitting there on a chair, because again, she didn't have children, she had cats, and I loved animals, so I was sitting there, but the cats were a little skittish because they're cats. But one of them just kept jumping on me, and she goes, that's my most skittish cat. It doesn't like people at all. You're the only, again, I was a little girl, said you're the only person she ever came towards at all in this house. She didn't go towards my parents. She just sat on me, and she loved me. And she goes, you must have some very special gifts. So she kind of said to my mother, there's something about me because the way animals came to me, which they did. We also rescued a lot of animals. Now, I did grow up with a lot of those. We even had a horse in our backyard. It was somebody who was putting their horse there because we had horse privileges. So, nice horse. I forgot the name of the horse, but I liked that horse. And I go play with the horse in a way. I didn't ride this horse because it wasn't mine, but and I was a little bit older when this happened. I was more like teenage, almost close to 17, but the horse played with my dog. We had a couple dogs then, so it loved to play with my dog, and had its own little corner. But yeah, it would play, and I think I gave him an apple or two every now and again, just play with him that way. Sweet horse. I think he was white, but like a little dirty because he was outside, and I don't know, but I don't remember for sure if he was either a quarter horse, a full horse, but you know what I'm saying, the type. Or if he was just a white horse of some sort. It's been a long time. And we did that. So I started being more, I call it spirituality. But I always questioned, even at that young age when I saw the angel, if God was, because the way they explain it to kids, or all of us, I guess, is that God is this guy that kind of lives in the sky, and the devil is this guy that lives inside the earth, fire and brimstone or whatever. And it depends on the church. Some of them are worse than others. And that Jesus was, the Son of God. But I became a Sunday school teacher at one point, and I did read a lot. And I studied a lot of even the books that explain some of the things, and always questioned what the church has said. Jesus is the only Son of God, but that's not what it says. There's Bible verses. Some of this is thanks to the devil that I figured out exactly verses. I kind of forgot, but when I was Sunday school teacher, I remember quite a few. But number one is that even the theory of God per se as a person walking on earth in the vision of Jesus. And number one, I've written articles about this because it's true. They teach us in church that God is unconditional, right? Unconditional. absolutely. The love, it's unconditional love. God is nothing but unconditional love. If nothing else, at least let's not say nothing but if nothing else, God is unconditional love, as is Jesus, because he was the son of other than when he was walking the earth, he had human things happen, like, he got angry and stuff like that. And then the New Testament with the words of Jesus would say, oh, he said, there's no, some of the churches and throughout the years still do this. They come, they'll say ridiculous things. A lot of what they say is ridiculous, but a lot of it makes sense. And okay, it's their interpretation of the Bible. And what I've come to with all my studies, not just Neville, when I started studying at a young age, Neville came into my life in my 50s, really. Per se, I may have heard of him when I was younger, but I didn't know it was him I was hearing about. I read a lot of stuff, Ruth Montgomery, very interesting. Sylvia Browne, I read her books. I do like and really follow her books and what she's gotten through herself, her Francine, her spirit guide, about the other side. And I found those very, very excellent, and definitely hit a place in me that makes sense to me. A lot of Wayne Dyer, who does know Neville's work or did know Neville's work. I read all his books. He was definitely, in fact, he was the first one that got me into that area, and I was 15 when that happened. So the first book I read was Your Erroneous Zones by Dr. Wayne Dyer, and that led me onto a very heavy journey of that would lead me to the Neville work. And though Neville's work was before Dr. Wayne Dyer, definitely I would say that he probably did introduce me to Neville without me knowing consciously. Well, I didn't know the name Neville Goddard, but I may have read it in one of his books, and I'm sure I did, because a lot of his stuff is, and he does say it in some of his lectures that it's Neville Goddard that said it, and I just never paid attention to the name type of thing. Because if at some point when I went through some of those stages, I didn't want to hear the word God, because I think that they bastardized it. Not that I was against God, I wasn't. But I just think that I know the lost books of Jesus, is it? I think I perused for those. I may not have read them all, but I did hear about them. Because when I went to the ARE, and I was probably at this point 17, 18 years old, with a friend of mine who my mother thinks poisoned my mind as if I have no mind of my own. She was telling me stories like messages from Michael, and and then Seth Speaks. And I started reading the books on my own. She didn't force me to read anything. Her name was Callie. Yes, she might have been a little strange, but she studied metaphysics in a college program. She was older than me, and she was a person who was disabled. She couldn't use her hands. She was born with a disease. I don't remember the name of it at all. But she would love to talk to me, and I loved talking to her, because, again, I was on my journey from the age of 15. I didn't meet Callie till I was 17, so she was just part of the journey. And nobody poisoned my mind. She says, oh, she poisoned your mind because she thinks that got me away from the church. I was leaving the church on my own. When I wasn't a Sunday school teacher, which I think I did till I was about 17, I was just kind of tired of it, because I always thought they contradicted themselves. I told you, it's always been strange. And the sermons were boring me. I heard them same thing over and over again, in a way. I thought our minister was fine. He was okay. It's not like they were overly entertaining in our church. It wasn't, the Southern Baptists where they're throwing themselves on the ground. That would have freaked me out. I went to one of those born again Christian type churches. Not that there's anything against what turns you on, but oh my gosh, or oh my God, when they start falling on the floor because somebody hits them in the head, you are healed. I mean, I think it's hilarious, but in fact, I remember sitting at my friend's church like that one time when I was probably 16, 17. And I said, God, because I always thought I had a very good conversation with God, by the way, which I continued to do for many, many years. I said, do you really think that's necessary? Does that really make people believe in you more? Because I never went to that kind of church, and I never was in that type of area. I might have been a little bit of a born again Christian earlier than that, a little bit, but not like where I need to fall on the floor and go into the shakes or something to prove that I feel unconditional love is very important. Like I said, a lot of the ministers and priests and stuff like that say very important things in the Bible that I think are interpreted correctly and well. But when they start adding their rules to it, there's your conditions. Okay, God loves you. And the Catholic Church will say, unless you curse or think terrible things, but you do. So you're going to hell? I don't know. This has turned into a different conversation. I'm going to end the stream and do my other one later, or again, or differently. Tape it on my phone and put it up later and go through it. But I still want you to join. You can join here. And we'll have those conversations. I mean, I'll do those kind of things that we'll have fun with that. And I'll talk about Neville Goddard probably in a minute, because I'm kind of getting there. So we'll do it. Talk soon. Let's see. End.